there is a problem. If you're not able to acknowledge the problem, if you're not able to get to the root of it, then your understanding of stress would just be on the surface. And the kind of solutions that you would look for would make no difference. Whether you found those solutions or not, because the problem is something deeper. Let's try and understand. We live in a world where we don't like showing our weaknesses to people. We don't like showing our pain. We don't like showing our emotions. Inside, we could be screaming in pain. Inside, everything can be chaotic. You have no sense of where you're headed. What is your purpose of life? You could be trembling inside, but on the outside, you try to put on an acceptable image. And everybody is doing the same thing. Just watch people. You will notice you will not find one person but two. One on the inside and one on the outside. You will rarely meet an individual. Why? Because we are conditioned to be something other than who we are. Every moment, we are taught to put on a show. If each individual starts expressing himself or herself, all their emotions, all their fears, all their frustrations, and all their joys and excitement, it is very difficult to deal with individuals like that. It's much easier to deal with programmed machines. So as a society, we have conveniently agreed upon certain acceptable behaviors and non-acceptable behaviors. So when you recognize disturbance inside you and you share it with people, you express that there's something happening inside. There is a disturbance and I'm not able to understand where it's coming from, but I know I'm disturbed. Before you go deeper and start explaining the disturbance, that disturbance is categorized as stress. Oh, it's just stress. Everybody is going through it. It's nothing new. So don't worry about it. Take this pill. Or go talk to someone. Or relax a little bit. Meditate a little bit. Stress is the outermost layer of disturbance. The real disturbance has more depth to it. The real cause of disturbance is ignorance. Ignorance of your true nature. Ignorance of your body. Ignorance of your mind. Ignorance of the connection between your mind, your body, and your true being. And ignorance of your true purpose in life. It is not enough to simply keep telling that, oh, I'm stressed. Let me do this. Let me do that. let me do things a little differently. It is not enough. And that is what you've been doing. You've been misunderstanding a fundamental problem for just a minor disturbance. What you're going through is an existential crisis. It is not stress. Because stress is not your nature. And stress is not a momentary experience. Animals don't experience stress. Stress is a much, much bigger problem than you think. Anger is fine. Pain is fine. Jealousy is fine. Hatred is fine. Happiness is fine. All the emotions, even negative ones, are fine. Because it's a part of your being. It comes in the moment. It surges and it subsides. Stress doesn't surge and subside. It's an undercurrent that's always there. Literally, you're being slowly cooked. That's what stress is. It only builds up over time. When an emotion extends beyond the present moment, when it starts lingering longer than it's supposed to, that is a bigger problem. Because what happens when an emotion refuses to leave? A thought arises in your mind. It triggers an emotion. Let's say pain. You think about something that has happened in the past. You experience pain. That pain should last only as long as you are thinking about that incident. Once your thoughts shift to something else, you should forget all about it. But that is not what is happening now. There is a part of you that is going back to those experiences, that is reliving it again and again and again. The same negative emotions, the same fears, the same frustrations, which you are meant to experience only once and forget it. Now, there's a mechanism inside you that is going back to it again and again and again. And just imagine the frustration when you are unable to make room for the next emotion, for the next thought process. Because to experience the next moment, you have to be empty. When you're already filled with something, it is impossible to experience the next moment. It's like a cup that is already full. Anything you pour into it, it will only spill. And that is what is happening. Your emotions are spilling everywhere. Your life is spilling everywhere. It is not contained in the cup. And you have to be very careful. Wherever you take this cup, you're afraid that you're going to spill more. And look at the way people are moving around. Look at the way they are interacting. They're so careful, so cautious. And they're always ready to spill. One word, one comment, one remark, they'll explode. They're on the edge. The whole of humanity is on the edge. It affects everything. It affects your thought processes. It affects your body. It affects your health. Everything. And that is what you're experiencing. But this is only the symptom. The real problem is lack of understanding of who you are. Acknowledging stress is the starting point to relook at your life, which requires changes, which requires big changes, but not in the same way that you've been trying to change in the world. This requires a totally different approach. Here, the change is not to become someone. The change is not to improve yourself. The change is not to become better, but to become simpler, become quieter, become more like a child, become more yourself. The real change, the real transformation that can take away your stress is you becoming more of yourself. First, give yourself some space from your constant thought processes. How do you change this tide? How do you change this momentum of the tide that's moving in a certain direction? You cannot suddenly change it because it's your own mind, it's your own thoughts. If you try to fight with your mind, you will be lost in it. So you need to shift your focus, to shift your awareness away from your mind and onto something more stable. And what is the most stable part of you? The body. What you're doing unknowingly is, in all those moments when you're watching your body, you're not feeding your desires. You're not unnecessarily distracted. You're not entertaining the same negative thought again and again and again. You're not reliving your past mistakes. You're not feeling guilty for all that you could have done, all that you should have done, because you're just watching the body. This is the part which is hard to understand. How can my stress go away when I'm simply watching the breath? Because when you're watching the breath, when you're watching the body, you're not stressing yourself. You're not adding to the chaos. You're allowing the water to settle. As of now, your water is mixed with mud. And every time you try to understand your life, you're mixing it more and more. And the whole water is muddy. And you want to know what is at the bottom of that water and you're not able to see. And you're frustrated. Every time you go to the mind, I'm stressed, your mind says, oh, do this, do that, you can do this. And you start mixing that water again. I'm like, I'm stressed more because my objective is to see what's at the bottom. I'm not able to see. Watching the body takes you away from the chaos of the mind so that the water can settle down. Once the mud settles down, once it's clear, then you can see through. When your mind is clear, when it is not clouded by thoughts, how can you be stressed? You are waiting for the next moment. You're waiting for the next experience. This is the first step in turning around. Stopping and shifting your awareness away from your mind and onto your body.